councillors here. We are not quorate from the CBC point of view in the room, but I understand that Tracy Stock is coming in and we have Mark online. So for me, that's quorate because there'll be 3 Central Beds councillors taking part in the meeting. And as far as I'm aware, that's okay, but certainly is for Town Council. It would just mean that if we were to be taking any decisions, which we're not today, they're all items for information. But if we were making any decisions, then the Central Beds councillors who are online would not be able to vote. Okay, so I'm moving forward. Do we have any apologies for absence, please? I think we have Councillor Ramsey. Yeah. No others. Oh, Councillor Whitaker.
I haven't received apologies.
She sent apologies to Councillor Foster on the 14th of January.
Okay, so Councillor Whitaker as well. Thank you. Do we have any declarations of interest in any item on the agenda, please? I'm not hearing from anybody, so I'll take that as no. Do we have any members of the public present online? No. Okay, so move on from public open session. One of the updates is from Lindsay Hillman Gamble. I know that she's with us at the moment and she cannot stay too long. So with members' approval, I'll take her item first, which is an update on the garden communities and then an update on Stratton Business Park. Are you there, Lindsay, to update for us, please?
I am, thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Yeah, apologies, I can't stay too long, but I did want to come along and just provide a brief update in relation to the 2 issues. In relation to the Biggleswade Garden Community Project, things are still progressing forwards. I had hoped to be able to provide an update in relation to 2 of the key work streams that we're undertaking in relation to an energy strategy and a biodiversity strategy. But we're not quite there yet, so I'm more than happy to come along at a future meeting and provide an update in relation to those 2 work streams. In relation to the engagement strategy in relation to the Sustainable Travel Corridor, we were hoping to launch the engagement later this week, early next week. But unfortunately, we've taken the decision to hold off on the engagement, which was or is going to be an in-person kind of festival engagement event led by the consultants Tybbalds. Whilst we recognise that the government guidance is changing in relation to COVID, we were just mindful about holding an event in early February in terms of COVID restrictions and people's perceptions, and obviously wanting to keep people safe. And obviously we want people to come along to the event and feel safe and comfortable. So we've decided to push the engagement event back, hopefully into March. But we're waiting for the site promoters UKR to confirm that the dates we're suggesting is okay with them and that they can come along at that time as well. So again, we'll provide an update as soon as we're able to in relation to the garden communities work, but things still are moving forward as planned. Just in relation to Stratton Business Park, there was a query, I think, about the future of the site and any future expansion. As an authority, we have no plans to extend the site ourselves, but obviously, as part of the local plan review, we will at some point do a call for sites if it's deemed necessary to do one. For both housing and employment sites, and so it may well be that further land at Stratton Business Park is promoted through the local plan process. Until such time that we undertake a call for sites, obviously we're not able to provide any certainty as to what that land might be or the scale of that land. It would purely be based on what is put forward to us at that time. Obviously, any sites that are put forward, if land is put forward, would obviously go through a rigorous site assessment process to determine whether it was not a site that we wanted to allocate in the local plan. So from our perspective, we're not looking to bring forward any sites or any additional land at Stratton at the current time. But like I say, the site promoters could put forward land as part of a call for sites process when we do the local plan review. Obviously, site promoters and landowners have the opportunity, if they wanted to submit a planning application regardless of whether a site is allocated. So that is always a possibility, but obviously that sits on the other side of planning, on the development management side, rather than the policy planning side. That's as much as I can update in relation to that. So I hope that's helpful and clarified the query that was raised.
Thank you for that. I think the other update that the Joint Committee wanted, and I suspect it wouldn't necessarily be from you, but is have all the sites that are currently within the allocated area been let, and what is happening, because you all know perhaps that the Town Council doesn't get consulted with the new planning powers that Central Beds have taken to themselves for anything that's happening on Stratton Business Park, and the Joint Committee was asking to be updated on what is happening on the business park. Do you know anything about that, Lindsay?
Well, my level of understanding is obviously there was a site that was permitted, which was known as Phase 6, which is where the co-op are currently building. And then more recently, there was a site was submitted for planning permission, which was granted, which is known as 6B, which extends to like the southern part of the corner of the site. That's the extent of my knowledge in terms of what's going on the site. The Phase 6B was obviously granted planning permission. I've not been out and seen the site, so I couldn't tell you at what stage it's at. But obviously it does have planning permission. But like I say, any other land would have to come forward either as a separate planning application or through the local plan process. Okay. I'm not sure whether Ingrid, whether you've got any other knowledge on Stratton.
Well, we can ask Ingrid. She'll be talking to us in a moment. Yeah. Are there any other questions from councillors, please? I'm not getting any indications from anybody. Okay, thank you very much, Lindsay, for that. And I'm going to move back on the agenda. Is Ingrid available? Ingrid, are you there to update on the HIF?
Sorry, I am here indeed, Madeline.
Okay, well, if I can take you, and then I'll go back to the minutes of the previous meeting and then go through the agenda. Okay, Ingrid, thank you.
Yeah, so I've got a brief update for you on HIF. So on the new Biggleswade substation, the planning application has been submitted and validated to Central Bedfordshire Council. So consultation is still ongoing and comments are still being responded to. The key issue around that, other than obviously going through planning, is the route for the supergrid transformers, which will be can't think what you call them, but enormous. They are enormous, so they have to have routes planned from where they come in at dock, basically, to get over then to Biggleswade. And so that work is still being progressed on identifying an approved route. And so far, I think routes that they've looked at are not working at the moment because of bridges and weights and loads and things like that. But we're still hopeful of finding a route. On Linsell's Bridge, the planning consent has been received. There's a next stage agreement with Network Rail has been signed. Contracts for detailed design and construction have been awarded to a company called Story, and certificate of title is being progressed by Network Rail. So that work's ongoing. Education project, that's out. The Have Your Say consultation on education has been concluded, and it's to be discussed with members to agree a final model. Feasibility study for the school itself is to conclude end of February. And then the Biggleswade Station interchange design and build contractor has been appointed. That's Scalliford Try. Interface between the project and Network Rail Access for All scheme is ongoing, and the timing of tree felling apparently is currently being debated to happen in advance of the bird nesting season. That's the whole of the update I got from the HIF programme. Were there any questions?
Councillor Knight?
Thank you very much for that update. Quickly on the substation, when the Town Council considered that application at the last Town Council meeting, I think the documentation on the central beds portal was incomplete, or I think at least the applicant hadn't necessarily submitted everything that we were expecting around the landscaping for that site. And therefore, the Town Council passed a resolution to object on the grounds that we could really only comment on the documentation and the plans that were available at the time. I don't know whether additional documentation has subsequently been submitted to the portal. Unfortunately, I didn't think to check before this meeting. But do you know what happens? What's the process if additional documentation is submitted mid-consultation after we have already passed a resolution on it? Will it have to go to consultation again, or will the Town Council be invited to comment on the additional documentation? What's the process we should follow there, please?
I am not 100% sure about that process. I'll have to take that away. I know there were issues on submission of 2 documents. There were major documents. There was some problem with the planning portal, and in the end, the team, the substation team, sent them in hard copy to be scanned in at Central Beds offices. So I know that they've now gone through, but whether they've got through to the portal yet, I do not know, but I will check up on that and see where it is, and check up on making sure all the documentation comes to Town Council.
Thank you. That would be really helpful, because I think we need some guidance to make sure we handle that appropriately. Thank you.
Any further questions? Ingrid, if I could just ask you, what was it you were saying about trees? Was it in conjunction with the transport interchange?
Yes, so it was a transport interchange. It must be those trees that are on site there. So I think they were trying to get those felled before bird nesting season, which must be starting very soon, I expect. That's all it says. It's just a bullet point like that. I can find out more about that if you'd like.
Well, not particularly. I'm just amazed that there are trees that are that are in the way of the transport interchange, but never mind.
Yeah, it must. I'm thinking it's maybe they've said trees, but it may just be shrubs, mightn't it, and bushes. It is anything major that you remove at this time of year.
Well,
yeah.
I just don't want to see that held up as an excuse for delay, because actually the site is mainly tarmacked, and Network Rail haven't given us the extra land that we wanted, have they? So I find that a very funny comment in conjunction with the transport interchange.
Yeah, it's the last comment on the list, and I'm wondering if somebody's copied it over from a different project or something, but I'll chase them up on that as well, Madeleine.
Yeah, well, as I say, we don't want any delay. Anything else from anybody on the transport interchange or the other HIF projects?
Madeleine, may I interject here?
Yeah.
It's not on the agenda as such, and I know we've previously briefly discussed it, but Ingrid, I think I know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask the question anyway in relation to the secondary school, and I'm obviously well aware that it's being discussed at Children's Services over in Scooting next week in terms of the Biggleswade cluster, but I'd be interested to know your views on where we're up to with the secondary school and the implications on HIF in relation to that. Where are we up to as far as you're concerned?
So from a HIF perspective, quite comfortable on what happens. It was one of the projects that Homes England were more comfortable about, whether or not that became delayed, and also because the HIF contribution was a smaller contribution to that project and not the whole cost of that project. Again, Homes England more comfortable. So I believe there are a number of options that Homes England would talk to us about around the school and the financial contributions there. So I think any decision pending on the school will not impact the confidence of Homes England in us delivering the HIF programme and totality of the HIF programme.
Thank you. That's what I was hoping to get from that. So, and I hesitate to sort of put you on the spot, but I'm just concerned that because in light of the agenda item at Children's Services and the recommendation to review the cluster schools and how that goes forward, I was just concerned that what the implications might be. You've assured me that there are options. So as long as that doesn't affect HIF in totality, and there are options we can look at. And I suppose that the specifics around it is does it? I'm going to try and pin it down to this specifically, but clearly the HIF relates to a secondary school.
Yeah.
You know what my question is going to be. So, does it have to be a secondary school that we are looking at, or are there options as far as Homes England are concerned? And I apologise for not asking you and preparing you in advance.
The preference is going to be for a secondary school because it's a new school that encourages people to buy houses in a particular area, you know. But the commitment on the infrastructure, I think, as long as we're talking about provision for secondary school places, you know, that we are providing new facilities of some description. I think that's where our wriggle room will be with Homes England on that. I think just in terms of delivery of the programme, the team, the Biggleswade HIF team have got good reputation and good relationship with Homes England. We're doing well on delivery of the other projects. They're going to talk to us at this stage of the programme about what the options are and what that £14 million contribution does go on. I feel quite confident that they'll be reasonable with us. I think that's the word. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. I'm sorry for putting you on the spot.
No, it's fine. Yeah.
Anything else for Ingrid? Okay, thank you very much, Ingrid, for that. And I'm going to move back on the agenda to the minutes of the previous meeting now, which was our famous two-part meeting because of the fire alarm. Everybody's got a copy of the minutes of the meeting. So are there any corrections to the minutes? You've all had a chance to go through them. Nothing? I'm not going to. Yeah, sorry, Councillor North.
Becoming a one-way street, is that correct?
Yeah, I see what you say, because it should say, because this is a one-way street. Because we were talking about possible additional parking. No. Yeah. So that needs to change to be, because this not will become, but is a one-way street. Okay, that's one correction. Anything else?
Can I ask members to put their microphones on so we can hear it?
Thank you, Mark.
Okay, sorry, Mark. Towards the bottom of page 8, there is a reference to Steppingley Hospital. I'm just wondering if that is correct, because I don't see what that's got to do with the health hub in Biggleswade. Should it be Biggleswade Hospital?
That should surely be Biggleswade, shouldn't it?
I would have thought so, yes.
Yeah, okay. Biggleswade. So that's Biggleswade Hospital, not Steppingley. Any other corrections, or issues that with the minutes? So can they be signed as a correct record, please, colleagues? Okay. So I'm now going to go through for matters arising that aren't on the agenda. So anything on page 6 of the paper. We've just had the HIF update, haven't we? So I don't think there's anything on 7 either. Anything on 8 that isn't on the agenda? We haven't got an update on the assets management, have we? Or the integrated care hub, so hopefully they will come forward next time. Anything on page 9, matters arising? Ten, 11, 12, 13, or 14. Nobody's interrupting me or waving at me, so I'm assuming that there aren't any matters arising. Thank you very much. So I'm now going to move on with the agenda. And it's Mr. Hosseini and Mr. Tarrant on Biggleswade Neighbourhood Plan and Dr. Surgery's engagement. Who's speaking first?
So Karim and Helen will give an update in regard to this. Karim, did you want to start?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair and Peter. So essentially overall, the process of collating all the public feedback during the Regulation 14 consultation exercise has gone pretty smoothly on the whole, and we are now at the stage where we're making we have made a number of detailed changes to some of the valid feedback which came through, and valid in the sense that it was pertaining to already the neighbourhood plan which we had in train. I'll switch over to Helen, who's done a lot of work on this actually recently. Thank you.
So as of today, we have a completed consultation statement and neighbourhood plan regulation 15 document, which will go to council next Tuesday for approval. So subject to that being approved, it will then go to Central Bedfordshire Council examiners.
Thank you. Yes, so the regulation 15 is the submission version of the document, and council will consider it, and hopefully the plan will go to Central Bedfordshire later next week. Any questions on that from anybody? No. So Dr. Surgeries, who's speaking on that?
I can do that, thanks. So in terms of doctors' surgeries locally and the clinical care group here for Central Bedfordshire as well, that area covering ours as well, we have emailed on repeated occasion the 2 surgeries in question in our town, and we've sent out a letter prior to Christmas on inviting them to come to a meeting whereby we are seeking to assist them in terms of helping their kind of patient waiting times and booking and things like that. The response prior to Christmas, we had 1 surgery coming back to us saying they were absolutely content to attend in late January. From late January, just before, of course, middle of January, so about 10 days ago, we wrote out to them again, sending 2 letters to both surgeries again, re-inviting them to, again, a similar meeting here, and we've had no response back at all, to my understanding. So we remain engaged and seeking to, sort of.
Okay, thank you. Any questions on that? No, nobody's speaking to me. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, may I ask which surgery hasn't responded, please? Which one has responded?
The Saffron has. Thank you.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the marketplace workshop. So if Ingrid's still there and Karim is here in the council chamber, who's going to speak on that? We lost Ingrid.
Thanks. I think Ingrid's pointing at me. Thanks. So if I may, thank you. So we've met with Ingrid and Sarah Morgan and colleagues as well from Central Beds on a number of occasions over the last few weeks. We've been looking essentially to initiate some activity and plans that we're putting in place with our town centre improvements package via section 106, mainly, primarily. Ingrid has come up with a fantastic offer, if you like, to pull together various colleagues from from Central Beds and come along, if possible, to a workshop we're planning for the 25th of February, whereby we will probably walk around the idea is that the plan is that we walk around the centre of the marketplace. We align our kind of vision and legacy plans, if you like, that we've had in place and brought up to date perhaps from our town council perspective, and align those with CBC's officers, how they're minded as well to have that, so that it will make it easier to dovetail, if you like, our requests for town centre improvements with theirs along the main budget that they hold for this town centre improvements, and to come up with a clean picture so that we're both on the same page, if you like, in with each other. That's the sketch.
So this will be a walkabout, but then a proper workshop where we can discuss the future.
Yeah, if I may. So it's 30, essentially, if we're all able to do so, will be 30-minute walk around the main square, talking about exactly referencing plans from street furniture to other aspects of the main square, and then coming back, ideally, here's the training room, but also Team or Zooms if that's required, and then with a specific list of things for the town square and feeder streets as well.
And that will be open to all town and ward councillors.
Yes. We're going to involve David Edwards as well, Madeline, to help to support us from a professional perspective.
Okay, that's a good thing to involve David. So it's going to be a proper workshop. It's open to all councillors. And will Central Beds officers be here to discuss things? Because although it's been mentioned about Zoom, it really isn't for a workshop a very good idea to have people on Zoom.
So we can't force them to, because our current mandate at Central Bedfordshire is work from home. But you will have Sarah, myself, Beverly Gaynor will be joining us as well, and we're hoping Nick Shaw will be there, and we are going to see who else we can encourage to come in person. Certainly for the walkabout, I don't see why anybody wouldn't feel comfortable doing that. And also, I think quite honestly, Madeline, people welcome an opportunity to have a bit of a contact at the moment as well. So it's, as long as we can do it in a sensible way where everyone feels comfortable, we're good. Sarah and I are always happy to meet up, aren't we?
So it's the 20th of February. That's a firm date now that we can put in our diary. Is that right?
Is that right, Sarah? We're waiting for David to confirm, weren't we?
And what time of day are we talking about?
Yeah, David has confirmed his attendance on that date.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. So what time of day are we talking about, and how long do we need for this workshop? I'm conscious that something late afternoon into the evening is far better for council colleagues.
Thank you, Madeline. So that's we're planning this for a 9 p.m. to arrive by 9:30 a.m. Sorry, 9 a.m. to arrive by 9:30 a.m. and then for a 30-minute walk around the square, and then to come back here for a 10 a.m. start till about 12 lunchtime, because it's a Friday, but not because it's a Friday, but that is a Friday. Just saying.
I think some colleagues are going to find that quite difficult, but I'd ask you to think about the timing of that and whether that's the best kind of timing. Okay. And Ingrid, you mentioned Nick Shaw. I think Nick and you and I had a conversation at one stage, and we were going to look specifically at the highways issues in the town centre. Is that going to be part of the workshop?
That's what my thinking was, that, that we needed him there for that bit, along with David Edwards and opinions from yourself to have a look at. I'm thinking that, the roads around Century House, Hitchin Street, all of that we can have that conversation. I
think that's critical, because it impacts, we need to find the best way to use those roads, because that impacts on the way that we can use the market square and the retail area in the middle of the town.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. So that's our hope. So we're meeting, is it next week? Corinne, we're meeting you just to go through it a bit more and get into the detail of exactly who we need there to support, you know, as a technical team from CBC. So we'll dig into the detail next week, Madeline.
Okay, thanks very much. I'm glad to hear it's underway. Anybody got any questions or comments?
I just made a comment that from my point of view, a morning or lunchtime meeting on a Friday is preferable to a Friday afternoon. I know that contradicts what Madeline has said, but Fridays in particular for me are a challenge. But if it's the only date, then up to sort of 2 o'clock in the afternoon is doable. Anything after that is not possible. But I know I'm probably the exception.
So we're setting the office as an impossible task. Okay.
Right. I thought I'd mention
it. Thanks, Mark. Anything else, anybody? Right. So we move on to economy and town centre improvements. Welcome back fund. Are you going to speak, or Wilma?
Wilma's probably the lead.
Okay. Would you like to? Thank you.
Thank you. On the Welcome Back Fund, we've had various meetings with CBC. The last one was this Tuesday to reconcile our net expenditure. And as of today, what we have outstanding that we're yet to submit something for is 1,860. And by close of business today, I would have some codes that I need to forward to them to that effect.
So is that the last amount that is due to be spent?
Yeah.
So it's 1,800 that's not spent, yeah, but the rest is accounted for now. Yeah. Okay. Peter?
No, I just wanted to support Wilma's perception of that. Obviously, it was absolutely critical that we make sure that we spend all £32,000. So I'm delighted to hear that we've reached a conclusion connected to that. And I know that that has been ratified by colleagues at Central Beds. Thank you for that.
Councillor Bond.
Sorry, after what the clerk was saying. So, Ingrid, can you confirm that we're in this position that we've actually agreed now that we're only down to the last £1,800 odd? So the rest of the money has all been agreed to be acceptable as expenditure for the Welcome Back Fund?
Yes, it is, and it is our. I think. I think that's all in place now. I'm thinking we have got some underspend for some other areas, and we're looking at that at the end of next week to agree with our exec members on the final allocations of some little bits. I think overall in the whole of the programme, against 255,000, we've either spent or got firmly committed. I think we're on about 140,000, so 240,000. So we're all but there and confident that we will have claimed as much as we can from government. So all good. So thanks everybody here for turning that around and advancing this programme.
Great, thank you very much.
Anything else on the Welcome Back Fund, Councillor Pullinger?
Well, it's not directly related to the Welcome Back Fund, but it is related to the COVID support more generally. I was just wondering if anyone is able to give an update on when the Omicron hospitality and leisure grants are likely to be available for applications, because obviously we've got many businesses in Biggleswade who are waiting for those. Many other councils across the country have already opened for applications, and we're still waiting for Central Beds to open the applications here.
So we'll have to take that away because I'm not aware of that. Sarah, are you aware at all? No. That's going to be with I think it was our business rates team who were dealing with all of that. So we'll follow that up. Oh, Tracy, are you aware of?
Yes, I know the finance team were waiting for further guidance from central government, but yes, I'm sure there will be an announcement shortly. I can't give an exact timescale. I think we were hoping the end of this month. Certainly the finance team are working on the grant schemes.
Yeah, my understanding that the meetings were taking place this week, so we should be able to launch something next week. And as soon as we do, there'll obviously be lots of promotion and publicity, and we'll get that out.
Thank you for that. Anything else, anybody? Okay. Is Mark Eaton with us? No.
Yep, I'm
Yes.
here. Hello.
Right. So your update on the highways programme, please, Mark.
Yeah, thank you. Right, I'll share my screen. Okay, yeah, so this is the update on highways for Biggleswade.
Right.
Okay, so this is just an update on the construction works on the highway that are taking place or have already taken place in this financial year that are due to finish by the end of March. So yeah, the carriageway resurfacing on Potton Road, that's been ordered. Footway resurfacing, there's two, Broadmead and Nursery Close. There's a drainage scheme that at the moment still at selected stage, trying to make sure that work go ahead. Shortmead Street. There's two schemes here that I've added a little bit more description. So when I presented them last time, there wasn't a great deal of detail about exactly what was involved. But it's just to add some more information really that there's two schemes here that involve improvements to the road islands, and that they're on Sun Street and St John's Street. And then there's a disabled parking bay scheme that's already been completed on Back Street. So I've now got an update on the proposed schemes that are still subject to final budget approval for next year's annual plan. And what I've done, you'll see I've streamlined the way I've done this. So here you can see just all the works on footways. So as you can see, there's quite a lot of schemes being put forward. First one there, Saffron Road. And just to explain where it says scheme description, these are the extents of the scheme. So the start and end points on Saffron Road. So the junctions are used as reference points here. So we've got Palace Street to Hitchin Street, Sutton Avenue, Rowan Crescent to Stratton Way, and then Stratton Way, Hitchmead Road to Potton Road, and then Mill Lane, Hitchin Street to Till Road, and then footway resurfacing Kylots Road, Home Court Avenue to London Road, Sandpiper Close, Till Road, all the way to the end, to the full length, and then Sun Street, Rose Lane to Shortmead Street. So a lot of resurfacing schemes for the area. So it should really make a big difference in terms of safety and serviceability on the footway. And then there's some improvement schemes that are being funded through developer contributions, Section 106 of the Town and Country Planning Act. So there's some improvements there. Design work has been done this year, and the actual work to improve those areas will be on Orchard Close, junction with Hitchmead Road, and another one on Dunton Lane. And carriageway and drainage, there's a scheme on Lawrence Road. It starts from the bend at Lawrence Road all the way through to Auckland Road. That's going to be resurfaced, and a drainage scheme and attenuation tanks. That's really to help with improving flood risk mitigation. So the attenuation is going to be put in a catchment area. The design has been done for this year, so the scheme will be done next year. That's on the Mulberry Close estate. And then there's some other highway works, an integrated transport scheme. Again, Lawrence Road, this is to do with a one-way cycle contraflow. Expect to be on site all the way there January 23. So we've got a year to wait for that one to go in, but that'd be improvement in terms of cycling provision. And then there's a rights of way scheme. Sorry, did someone have a question about that?
I was just going to say, I assume that the Lawrence Road scheme will come for consultation to the town council, because that's absolutely vital. And some of it, I don't think will go down well with residents. It's something that some residents have been asked for, but others are very much opposed to. So I would hope that the town council can have some input into the design of that one-way and cycle contraflow. We're not very happy with cycle contraflows in Biggleswade either. And given how narrow Lawrence Road is, if you're still going to have some resident parking and some residents haven't got off-road parking, you're going to struggle to have even a one-way with a cycle contraflow. So I think, you know, Mark, I appreciate it's not your issue completely, but if you could feed it back that the town council would very much like to be involved in the design of that, I'd be very grateful.
What's the best way for me to facilitate that? Should I speak to Sarah Hughes and work out the best way to improve the dialogue there?
I think whenever your designers are putting a design together, if they could send a consultation document to the town council, or even, you know, arrange a meeting, an informal meeting with the town council. Councillor Knight wanted to come in.
Thank you. I'd just like to second that, really. I know that the cycle contra on the Balk is considered dangerous by many residents and not a model that we'd like to see repeated. So I think that needs to be looked at very carefully, please.
So, Mark, can you liaise with Sarah then and see what you can do, please?
Yes, certainly. More than happy to facilitate that in any way I can. And there's a rights of way scheme.
Mark, can I interrupt you again, please?
Also, just adding on.
Can you?
I have. And just adding on to that, from what I understand, obviously last time we did a lot of cycling stuff, which was some of the very strange things that were done in Back Street with cycleways on pavements. I understand it's no longer acceptable to put cycle paths on pavements. So obviously that has to be a consideration when that is put together for Lawrence Road.
Okay, thank you for that. Sorry, Mark, off you go again with the next item, please.
I hadn't heard that there was any kind of national guidance on shared spaces for cyclists and pedestrians. That'd be interesting if you could share any literature you've read on that. That'd be really helpful. I can pass that on. Yeah, and there's a rights of way scheme. The officer who's leading on this scheme is really excited about it. He's really keen to do it. He knows it's going to be really popular. So there's going to be some bank repairs, doing everything we can to get best value for money with the bank repairs, because it's quite a complicated piece of engineering work for this. And yeah, so that, just to let you know where that's going to be, it's footpath 21, and that's between Mill Lane and Jordan's Mill. So yeah, that should be, from what I gather, be a really popular scheme. It should really help to improve leisure activities, because that footpath will be far more accessible and safe going forward. So that's it for the update on what we're hoping to put forward for next year. Again, we've got to, fingers crossed, we get all the budget approved. But yeah, so that hopefully that gives you a good idea of what we're looking to do next year.
Thank you, Mark. Talking about the bank repair, again, I'm a bit bemused about what's going on, because BRCC facilitated a parallel path away from the riverside because the river is eroding the bank. And I would have thought it's a quite expensive thing to do to try and reinforce the bank. I'm just wondering quite what's going on there. And the other thing that you need to be aware of is that the problem with that footpath is the going underneath the bypass, which we believe is Highways England's responsibility, but it floods, and the town council has written to Highways England and had no response at all. So I think we're going to have to chase that one up. So there are some issues. I mean, yes, you're right. It's an important pathway for people in Biggleswade from Mill Lane to Jordan's Mill. But I'm very interested in exactly what's going to be proposed there. So perhaps that's another one where we can have a bit of liaison with the town council, and also a bit of help with nudging Highways England to do something about the flooding in the underpass under the bypass, the A1 bypass.
A1 bypass.
Yeah.
So is that where? So yeah, okay. So that's near there, is it? Is that in close proximity?
The footpath has to go underneath the A1 to get from Mill Lane to Jordan's, and the Highways England have done an underpass and they haven't got the levels right, and it floods quite badly at one end, so badly that you'd need Wellingtons. You couldn't pass it with ordinary shoes on. So it's all information. You see, we've got a lot of local information and we need to be able to feed into these schemes, because it's very good what Central Beds are proposing, but we need to feed in the local information.
Yeah, thank you very much. Okay.
All right. So we'll leave it with you, and perhaps Sarah, you can follow up and we can bring something if necessary to joint committee, but it might be an informal meeting with the town council and the relevant engineer would be more fruitful.
Yeah, certainly. And Councillor Stock's got her hand raised as well.
Okay, well, I can't see you on my little screen now. I have to keep turning around. So Councillor Stock, please come in.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Russell. Thank you, Mark, for that update. But I do have my portfolio was extended last year, and I'm responsible for rights of way now. And I have walked that route with Chris Nichol last summer, and we made notes. And the bank is in desperate need of repair, and so that is all part of the plan to get that. And the bank is collapsing, so that's why it needs to be made safe. For public use, obviously. So I will also take back, if that's okay with you, Mark, the comment about the underpass. We did go under the underpass and walk all around that. So I will feed that back to the Rights of Way team and Chris Nichol.
Chris Nichol works for me, Councillor Stock. So
yes, I'm aware.
Yeah.
Oh, so if you're happy to take that back, that's fine. But I'm due to give have an update with Chris imminently. So, but if you want to take that back, that's fine.
Yeah, either way, I don't mind. I know he likes talking to you, so that's great. Okay.
Will do. I'll take that up then. Thank you.
Perhaps both of you can talk to him to make sure he understands.
He does.
I know the route, so I'll take it back. So yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay. Anything else on highways? I'm not getting any signals or anybody shouting, so I'm going to carry on. So we're now with the stakeholder and forum and community engagement group, Peter.
Okay. So we continue to have regular conversations with our community and to consult and reflect and test things with them. So we had a meeting on the 6th of December. I'm just going to basically run through and let you know the subjects that we discussed without going through the detail. Obviously, this is also a member forum. Individual members are also invited to come along and attend. On the meeting on the 6th of December, we talked a lot about what we would call local issues. So Corinne did a presentation on the Christmas light switch on, as well received. We also then talked about the Remembrance Sunday, did a presentation on that. Corinne and I did a presentation about GPs and health to our community. Then I underlined to residents who were present the importance of attendance at council committees and the opportunity to come along and to hear their voice. And we very much welcome them to come along. We don't always get a massive attendance, but we're trying to encourage members of our community to come along and have a direct interface with us. We also talked about the car charging points. Potentially looking at electric vehicles in the community. And then we went on to talk about the last thing, which was better use of open spaces. So one of our, Shirley Leggett, who will mean something to one of the local people here, came along and talked to us about how she thinks we might be able to do that better. So we had a good conversation, and it's minuted as it is. It's minuted in the way that a committee would be minuted, but it obviously isn't a formal committee and the council has no constitution. But a good conversation was had. The next meeting that we're going to be having is on Monday, the 7th of February. The agendas are framed by members of the community who come along. And so far, they've asked us to talk about the neighbourhood plan. We're going to do a Jubilee update with Hazel Clark. And we're going to do a update on the sustainable transport corridor with Karim. And that's an indicative agenda at the moment. We haven't finalised that agenda. So there's nothing really particular for me to add, other than the fact that this is a conduit to listen to our local community's voice. And we continue to have those conversations. And obviously listen to that and frame that as part of our strategies going forward.
Thank you very much. Are there any comments or questions to Peter on that? People on
Yes, please.
Yes.
If I may, as community engagement manager at Central Bedfordshire Council, I'd really would welcome an invite if that's okay.
You're very welcome to attend.
Thank you.
That would be very good to get that liaison in place. That's a good idea. Thank you, Sarah. Anything else from anybody? No? Okay. So I think the work plan is the next thing, Sarah. So we've got some meeting dates, 2022-23 here. The final one, of course, being 25th of May 2023, which is after the election. So it would be the new committee, whoever is elected by the two councils. So, Sarah, do you want to take us through what you need from the work plan point of view? Are you there, Sarah? Sarah, I think you're on
I'm
mute.
on mute, sorry.
Yeah, off you go then, Sarah. Thanks.
Sorry about that. Yeah, so it's pretty much a carry forward of the agendas that you're having. I think that format seems to work well, and the key points, key updates are covered. But of course, if you would like to add any other items, then please do. We review it at every meeting, so we can add things, new items for the next meeting to come forward.
Well, it's already looking like quite a detailed agenda for April, isn't it? So is there anything that anybody thinks is missing from that April agenda that we really ought to be looking at?
I did note one thing you mentioned earlier, Councillor Russell. I did make a note. It was the integrated healthcare hub. You wanted that to come back to the next meeting. So that is on there, actually, fortuitously.
Yeah.
Madeline, I think we might also benefit from having an update on schools for the future, obviously from the
That's
February
on there.
executive. Yeah, so just to be clear, so I wasn't sure, Sarah. Thank you for that.
Yeah, that's good. So it would be good, as you say, Mark, to have somebody, Sarah Ferguson or somebody from the schools team. Anything else that anybody would like to see on the next agenda, and then we can update this as we go along. I don't think I'm getting any other indications from anybody.
Yeah.
Sorry, Councillor North.
And did you say that the health hub was on it now?
Yes, it is. Yeah, thank you. Okay, right. Well, I think we've come to the end of the agenda. So thank you very much, everybody. Thank you to everybody who's made a contribution, all the officers. And I declare the joint committee closed.
Thank you.